Cigars go through multiple quality checks, and yet you can still end up with one that smokes terribly. Not because something went wrong, but because that's not what those checks are designed to prevent. Factories aren't trying to make perfect cigars. They're trying to control how the cigar draws, how it burns, and how consistent that experience is. But even with all of that, they're only keeping the cigars within a range, not locking in a perfect result. Let's start with the one that every smoker notices first, the draw. At its core, draw is simple. It's how easy it is to pull air through the cigar, and that directly affects how much smoke you get, how hot the cigar burns, and how hard you have to work just to smoke it. Too tight, and you're struggling the entire time. Too loose, and it burns too fast and too hot. So factories test for resistance, trying to keep every cigar within a specific range. But here's the limitation. That test happens before the cigar is ever lit. Once you light it, heat changes the structure. Tobacco expands, airflow can tighten up. So a cigar can feel perfect at first, and still turn into a tight draw halfway through. Draw testing filters out the worst cigars. It doesn't guarantee a perfect one. If they didn't do this at all, you'd end up with cigars that are either plugged shut or burning uncontrollably hot. But draw isn't where this starts. It starts with what's inside the cigar. Inside a cigar, you don't have a solid structure. You have layers of tobacco leaves packed together. And how those leaves are arranged directly controls how air moves through the cigar, how evenly it burns, and whether that burn stays consistent. Even small differences in that arrangement can lead to uneven burn, tunneling, or sections that won't stay lit. And since this is done by hand, there's always going to be a variation. Think of it less like precision and more like controlled variability. This is why two cigars from the same box can smoke differently, even when nothing technically went wrong. If this wasn't controlled, you wouldn't just see occasional issues, you'd see constant burn problems in almost every cigar. Now, even if everything up to this point is right, this next factor can completely change the outcome. Moisture directly affects how evenly a cigar burns, how open or tight the draw feels, and how often you need to relight it. Too much moisture, and the cigar struggles to stay lit, burns uneven, and feels tight, while too little, and it burns too fast, too hot, and starts tasting harsh. So even if a cigar is rolled perfectly, moisture alone can completely change the experience. And here's the part most people overlook. Once it leaves the factory, they lose control of this. So what you're experiencing at home might not be what the factory tested at all. A lot of bad cigars aren't bad cigars. They're cigars in the wrong environment. If moisture wasn't controlled at the factory, most cigars won't even make it to you in a smokable condition. At this point, there's a pattern. Every step is controlling a specific part of the experience, but none of them lock it in completely. They reduce problems. They do not eliminate them. So, how do factories check the final result? They actually light up cigars from each batch, looking at burn line, combustion, and overall consistency. Because if the burn is off here, you're going to be correcting it the entire time you're smoking. But again, they're not testing every cigar. They're simply sampling. So they're not proving every cigar is perfect. They're proving the batch is likely consistent. Quality control lowers the odds of a bad cigar. It doesn't remove them entirely. If this step didn't exist, you'd see far more cigars that look fine, but fall apart as soon as you light them. And before anything reaches you, There's one last step. Every cigar is inspected. They're looking for wrapper damage, structural inconsistencies, anything that could affect performance. If something looks off, it gets pulled. But at this point, nothing is being measured. It's a decision. At the final stage, consistency isn't engineered, it's judged. If this didn't happen, a lot more flawed cigars would make it into the box. So what does all this actually mean when you're smoking? It means what feels like a problem is usually a signal. A tight draw, that's resistance from construction or moisture. A fast burn, that's too much airflow or too little moisture. An uneven burn, that's inconsistency inside the cigar. Constant relights, that's usually moisture imbalance or airflow issues. Once you see it this way, you stop guessing and start reading what the cigar is telling you. Factories aren't creating perfect cigars. They're creating cigars that fall within a range. And what you experience is where your cigar lands in that range. So the next time something feels off, don't just see it as a bad cigar. See it as information.